What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boys over here at Three Man Weave. I'm your lovely co-ZD in the building with CJ. We coming at you guys live, man. It's a Monday, May 18th. Lots of good stuff. Lots of people going home. Lots of new topics to talk about. We know Shai, obviously. I don't know if that was a massive surprise. I mean, Shams breaking it early was, but it's neither here nor there. Ant going home, Cade going home. It's a lot of stuff, man. LA obviously dealing with LeBron's potential exit. And Sean said it today. I guess teams have already called, which makes perfect sense to me. He spoke on about it last podcast. He has a chance to be a very good third or second option for very cheap for another team, and we can't really afford him at $50 million a year, but. We got a lot of stuff to talk to you guys about today, man. But CJ, how are you doing, man? Thunder, obviously, they're playing like 30 minutes. I'm not gonna say what the word on the street is. It's like ethical basketball versus unethical basketball, and get into that discussion. But how are you feeling, man? How are you feeling about your squad?
Man, I'm feeling good, bro. I told you a little bit a little while ago before we started recording. A little nervous for the series. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think we know the type of team that the Spurs are, how they've been able to play us this season. So obviously that isn't what we judge a playoff series off of, but we base it off of what we've seen. But a lot of stuff has changed. Players have been added. Players getting healthy for us at the right time. So I'm excited, bro. I think this is the matchup that the NBA was wanting, the matchup that I feel like we've all been wanting to see all year long between these two teams.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's the Western Conference Finals. Like you mentioned, Shai won back-to-back MVPs. Shout out to that. So I'm pretty sure he'll be getting the trophy tonight. I'm excited, bro. I can't complain. This is what I've been waiting for all year, and the fact that we're going against the Spurs just, brings me back to 2016 times, like that era, like a decade ago when it was, the trio with the Spurs, Manu, Tony, and big old fundamentals down in the paint. But I'm excited, bro. I'm excited to, see what this series has in store for us. I think it's gonna be a good one. I still think we end up winning, but I think it's going to be each game is going to be tightly contested. You might get a blowout here and there, just depending on how the other team shoots. But I think it's going to be a good one, man. I'm excited, and I appreciate your time as always, man. Starting the week off right, and being able to chop it up about stuff that we've been seeing, over these past couple of days. Like you said, a lot of teams going home, and wanted a little more fight out of both of them that got eliminated. But long season, some people are injured, this and that, we get it, but just wanted to see a better effort, you know what I mean? Just see a better performance for a winner go home scenario for, the Pistons and the Timberwolves. But doing great, bro. I'm excited to get into this pod and, ready to watch the boys here in a little bit. So I can't complain.
That game is going to be interesting, though. I mean, the Spurs took care of business last time out against the Timberwolves. They won. They won by 30 points. Was it 139-109?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. So it was like a massive, not really upset, because truth be told, you and I had the Spurs moving on. But just like you said earlier, shocking to see the Timberwolves roll over like that. This next series, going to be a couple X factors, though. Mitchell, McCain. Iceman had dropped recently. I feel like Jared McCain gonna be
crazy,
cooking a little bit.
Yeah.
Like he seems like that type of cat. So he's got Drizzy in his headphones. I'm sure he'll be cooking from three. Yeah, I'm excited to get into it, man. You can start it off for the people. Just get right into the cake, like you say, the meat and potatoes. But you can talk about Shai and get the people out of here.
Yeah, for sure, bro. So
on that note,
just talked about it. I'm wearing the jersey right now. You're in the presence of a back-to-back MVP this season with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He added another major piece to his resume by winning his second straight Kia NBA MVP award, putting him in elite company as one of only 14 players to win back-to-back MVPs. The award came less than a year after he led OKC to NBA championship and won Finals MVP, which makes this season feel less like a breakout and more like the continuation of a legacy run. He opened the year with 35 points in a double overtime win over Houston, followed that with 55 points against Indiana, and helped the Thunder jump out to a 22-1 start while averaging 32.8 points, 6.4 rebound or assists, 1.4 steals, and only 1.7 turnovers during that stretch. For the season, Shai averaged 31 points and a career high 6.6 assists while shooting a career best 55.3% from the field and 38.6 from three, proving he became even more efficient despite carrying MVP level expectations every night. He also scored at least 20 points in every game, extending his streak to an NBA record 140 straight games with 20 or more. What separates this MVP case is that he paired elite scoring with mistake-free control, averaging only 2.2 turnovers and becoming just the second player along with Michael Jordan to average 30 plus points with fewer than 2.5 turnovers for a third straight season. With Shai also winning Clutch Player of the Year, leading the league in plus minus at plus 788 and guiding OKC to 64 wins and the number one overall seed, the Thunder enter the Spurs series with the league's best player operating at the peak of his powers, Edie. Well, what are your thoughts on it, man? What are your thoughts on the Shai getting this back to back?
Yeah, I'm not too shocked. I put out the article on the website today, but yeah, for people who may not know, Shai's entered the elite chat, the elite of the elite, in my opinion, better than James Harden, right? Like that conversation, unfortunately, for old timers who can't seem to grasp what's going on in reality. The reality is Shai's been the best player probably for the last 3 years. I know Jokic obviously got that MVP 2 seasons ago now, but Shai has won the back-to-back MVPs, and he was given Jokic a run for his money even 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So firsthand, he's been very consistent. He's scored 20 points in over 130 games or something like that, not including the playoffs. He's also been healthy. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. I think his durability is one of the more underrated things about Shai's game because it has nothing to do with basketball. Everybody likes or they don't like the free throws, or they like the step back jumpers, or he hit that, and they like that. But something that I like about him is just how durable he's been, and he's never out of games for no reason. Even with these knick-knack injuries, Shai is still going to go. He's also just brought the 6.6 assists jumps out to me. He's brought the best out of Chet Holmgren and Casey Wallace and other guys around him to kind of be that like floor raiser. Shai used to play a little bit more solo, ISO heavy a couple years back, but he's now starting to get other guys involved. And we saw it firsthand in the Lakers series. You and I watched, we would double, sometimes not double. We would switch up the coverages and he was still finding open guys. The plus 788 plus minus, number one in the league in front of Jokic, it's a testament to OKC's greatness and their ability to beat teams by an extraordinary amount or differential, right? But overall, there's not much to be said about Shai that hasn't already been said. And me and you both know, for us, he would be on our all-decade team. He's been the best point guard of the 2020s, including Curry's run, right? He's just been even better. Don't know how that's going to sit with certain people. I know they don't like seeing a new kid on the block, and Shai, I know for you is not new, but for a lot of the NBA, he's the new kid on the block, and he'll just have to continue to prove himself in this series coming up versus the Spurs, because you said it, before we started recording, it could get treacherous here, but I don't think the Spurs can slow him down. I believe he'll, I don't see Mitch Johnson switching up the coverages too much. He might do a little bit of what the Lakers did, and he'll be prepared for that. But just had a brilliant season, bro. And I know you saw this one was a little different, but his press conference, I guess he had all the guys, dripped out in Burberry, and just spoke really highly of them, and the APs, and just. I know last season it was more emotional because I just don't believe he really envisioned and like knew that he was going to get to that mountaintop, but he always worked hard and strived to get there. So once he did, it's kind of like, okay, I'm here now. And
Yeah.
I own the NBA. So this is Shai's NBA. Saw somebody say that today. I agree. We're all just living in it, man. That's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, bro. It's it's incredible to see. You know what I mean? I was seeing tweets like OKC has had 4 MVP winners in the past 13 years or something. So it's incredible. You know what I mean? Obviously, as a Thunder fan, but just like you said, the conversations are gonna have to be had about where he ranks even at this point. Prior, if he doesn't even make the championship this year, whatever. I still think we are, but with what he's already done up to this point, back-to-back MVPs, the run that we went on last year, if he replicates that this year, that the conversations will have to be had, bro. And like you said, I think it's something a lot of people don't want to have so early on in his career, right? Because he kind of peaked, or he was a late bloomer in a sense. He started getting good within the past 5 years, 4 years. We saw glimpses of what he could be. But just to say that, I thought he was going to win back-to-back MVPs, I would be not lying, but it would be something that, like, you told me this 3-4 years ago, I probably would have been like, oh, I could see him getting one. But back-to-back, bro, I think, like you said, like I mentioned earlier, 14 other players have been able to do that. It's something that, a lot of your favorite players, you know what I mean, aren't even in that conversation. So it's dope. It's dope to see it, bro. Like you said, I've been able to witness him firsthand, watching him since we've been doing the pod specifically, but even before that, watching him hit game winners, dancing and shit. I think that was against the Lakers. You know what I mean? When he hit that game winner, he was like, damn, we were shitty though. Like, we probably won like 20 games that year, but we saw those type of moments as a young Shai that was trying to lead the team, and like you said, became a lot more ISO ball. And then once we started getting a lot better players, he became a better playmaker. He elevated his passing game, and we're able to see what when you put the right pieces around him, they all have the same goal in mind. We see what it's able to translate to. So shout out to Shai, shout out to the Thunder, building an incredible team, but also believing in the mans from Hamilton, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there you go. Shai is it's probably the most dangerous guard we have, man. So it's just going to be tough to take over that spot if you're looking to do so. And even Luka, I was telling you before we got on, there's been a lot of chatter about that. He didn't receive any first place votes. Wemby got a couple. Jokic got a lot. At all.
Yeah, I saw that. I was surprised because Cade did, and Cade was lower than him in the MVP race. He got 2. I saw that. I was like,
I don't necessarily agree with that, obviously, but I'm like, at this point, I don't think he's going to win an MVP award, and you just have to be okay with that. There's not in the timeline, like, Wemby's here now, so Wemby's the next one to win.
Yep.
And then potentially like a flat, like somebody else.
Yeah, young. Yep.
But as Luka gets older, and he's never going to average 45 points in a season, right? So he's always going to get 30 points and 8 rebounds and 8 assists, and that's Luka Doncic. So I got to be prepared for that. But Shai had a great season. Respect to him. If he goes for 3, that was the other thing I was going to bring up before we move on. Like you said, that's a lot of different of a conversation. We're getting into like the Larry Bird,
that's
Jokic
a legendary type conversation.
He's already there, but that's like the legendary of the legendary. Like you're saying, like he's already a top 100 player. He'll be on the next anniversary list, but that would bring him to the top 20 in my opinion. So shout out to Shai, man. I know you've worked really hard to be where you are, but moving along, I know we're going to preview this game before 7:30. Unfortunately, we won't be live for it. Streamlabs is busted, but we will preview it for you guys, and whenever it drops on YouTube, you guys will know the final. But Spurs versus Thunder, man, this is the only game tonight at 7:30 Central. The Spurs had listed Luke Cornett as a game time decision, and De'Aaron Fox, I was told by CJ, got listed as out, which is unfortunate. Hopefully, he's been awesome this playoffs, like filling in playing his role at veteran leader, even though he's 28, 27 years old. He's been able to come in and give him 18, 20 points. So that's a pretty big miss. Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper, who thankfully they have, he's going to go. So I don't think the Spurs will be too hurt by it, but I'm sure at the end of the game is when they'll start to feel that loss from De'Aaron Fox. But storylines for this one, San Antonio, Oklahoma City open the Western Conference Finals tonight. The number 2 Spurs trying to steal a game from the number 1 Thunder in a matchup built around Victor Wembanyama versus Shai. Obviously, Vic wanted to win that MVP award and received a couple first place votes ahead of Luka and obviously Cade and all the superstars. And it's interesting. Wemby's announced himself in multiple different ways, but I believe he's been here. Next season, it will officially be his MVP watch. The NBA will be.
Yep.
They don't want to give it to Shai again, and most likely not Luka or Jokic. So we already are foreshadowing that. So this matchup is a big time matchup for Shai. If he's able to keep the baby boy at bay and not let the Spurs get past them in this round, I know it's going to piss off Victor Wembanyama, so we're definitely watching for that. The Thunder enter on an 8-0 playoff series run. They have not lost. Behind Shai's 31.1 points per game and 6.6 assists per game, plus a league best profile built on 107.9 defensive rating and a plus 11.1 net rating. The Thunder have been awesome. They've been dominant. You guys know that. They had the Suns and then the Lakers, but they have not lost once. Both of those two teams are very scrappy. They played well in defense, but the Thunder are just too much. And truth be told, they were some of the easier opponents in the playoffs. This will be their first official challenge, even though I believe the Thunder still got it in the end. We'll see. The Spurs, of course, went 4-1 against OKC this season in the regular season and have the Wemby advantage at the rim. He's obviously going to be getting a ton of blocks. But Stephon Castle, Vassell, Champagnie, they're shooters. Obviously, whenever De'Aaron Fox does get back into the lineup, they'll be able to push the pace. They'll be able to punish the Thunder's turnovers, which teams like the Lakers and Suns can't do. We don't run very fast. We don't have a ton of guys. The Lakers get out in transition, but we don't have the athletes, right? The Thunder have the athletes, but so do the Spurs. So if the Thunder turn the ball over, the Spurs are going to make them pay for it. Game 1, I got to take the Thunder at home in Paycom. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's MVP game. He's going to receive the trophy, like you said. Just the vibes are going to be high in that building. It's going to be rocking. AJ Mitchell, De'Aaron Fox's injury is, to me, it's a little bit too much for San Antonio in this game, but I still think Dylan Harper's going to bring it, though, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm rocking with this, the Thunder as well. Like you said, game 1 at home. We have been, off for a week now, I believe. So a little rust, I feel, probably to start the game. But I think we get this dub tonight. Like you said, De'Aaron Fox injury is major one that we ended up getting like right before we started recording. So, but like you said, Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, I think they're not going to miss him as much, but there's going to be moments in the game where I think De'Aaron Fox could slow it down. He's able to get, tough mid-range jumper that he's been able to hit pretty much all playoffs, and to kind of like slow the offense up, kind of get back into the groove of things for the game. So that'll be missed tonight, but I'm rocking with the Thunder as well, bro. Like you said, a lot of storylines have been being written for the series, throughout the year. Wemby versus Shai for the MVP award. I think it's a lot, but I think boys will be able to take care of business tonight, and probably expect a big game from McCain, like you said, McCain or Joe. I feel like those will be X factors. Obviously, Caruso and what he's been able to do whenever he gets on the court defensively, and if he can knock down some threes, he could definitely sway some games for us this series. But rocking with the Thunder, bro. You know what I mean? I think we get this one, but like I told you earlier, I think this is gonna be a good series. So, but I'll never count out the boys. So.
No, yeah, and the Spurs have played them well. Obviously, I'm not looking too much into that, but this season was interesting for the Thunder in the regular season versus them, and I'm sure Wemby, you spoke to me about it before we recorded, but all the clips of him crying and being mad on the U17 and for France and like all that stuff, he's gonna remember, bro. He's gonna be playing with fire. So, your mama say, if you play with fire, you're gonna get burnt. You know what I'm saying? So You got to protect yourself and put on your protection gloves. And Chet's gonna be ready.
Yeah, man.
Believe Chet will is a first team all defense, 2 first team all defensive candidates at the center spot at that, taking up 2 out of the 5 positions. You know, it's gonna be.
It's gonna be.
I think it'll be good,
It's gonna be
bro.
a
I'm
good series,
excited.
bro. I that's why I
Yeah,
told
I'm
you
excited.
I'm super like anxious and nervous because like no disrespect to the Lakers or the Suns, but they've had Spurs have had our number this year, and it's like I think we're the reigning NBA champions, but I feel like people are still doubting us because of what they've seen. Wemby's on the come up, what he's been able to do, so it feels like it's like we still have a lot to prove even though we're the reigning champs, So I think that's why it's adding a little more of like
Versus the
tension
Spurs,
versus the
you do,
Spurs.
bro.
You know what I mean?
You do.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
y'all
So
do. Yeah,
that's why it's like, all right,
I
we'll
I
we'll
get
show
that.
you. You know what I mean? We're gonna
Yeah,
see for the next 7 games, and the best team will come out on top. You know what I mean? So I'm excited, bro. I think it's gonna be a good one.
for sure. We gotta go out east. Cade and them. Game 5 was a swing game. Obviously, we I don't know if we went live for the Eastern Conference or the Cavs Pistons series. Did we? I don't think we did.
I don't think we
I
did
think we only
either.
did the West
Hmm.
because it was like it was OKC and the Lakers.
Yep.
But Game 5 was a swing game. Cleveland beat them. They beat Detroit 117-113 in overtime after trailing by 15 in the first half. And they were trailing 103-94 late in the fourth. Obviously, James Harden scored 30 points in that one, bro. Donovan Mitchell added 21. Max Strus had 20. But interestingly enough, Game 6 was another battle. Cade, Jalen Duren showed up. Um, I'll be honest, the Cavs and the Pistons looked tired as hell. It was not a very offensively great series. The Pistons played 7 games versus the Magic, which definitely showed up in that game 7 here. I believe a lot of the tired legs was the reason that they lost by so much. But leading up into that point, it was a flip flop. You went with the Pistons, no,
I think I did.
in
Yeah.
this series?
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of the analysts or people who were watching closely couldn't really tell where the series was headed. Game 6, Cade and Jalen Duren showed up. Tobias Harris hadn't been super consistent in this series, but Game 7, man, I don't know. I don't really know what happened with Detroit. Detroit fans, where are you guys, man? I heard what Cade said after the game, and we'll get into what happened in the game. But he's like, yeah, today was just a bad basketball day, and I'm like, bro, you can't have a bad basketball day in a game
Game
7.
7. Yeah.
Marcus Sasser goes 3 of 12. Jalen Duren's a ghost. Asar Thompson's nowhere to be found, and that's disappointing, bro. Because truth be told, Detroit should be now turning that corner and figuring it out, and instead we had Donovan Mitchell. Whatever, but Game 7 was Cleveland's cleanest and best game. It's their most complete response. They crushed Detroit 125-94. Donovan Mitchell scored 26 points, had 8 assists. Jared Allen had 23 points. Merrill had 23 off the bench. Mobley also scored 21. Truth be told, Cleveland shot very well from the field in this one. In the first half, they were cooking with grease. I know Donovan Mitchell had 3 assists back to back to back. Two lobs to Jared Allen and then one nice one to Mobley. They looked like they were playing on all cylinders early. Sam Merrill getting into it. Did you see Asar Thompson run over him?
Yep.
After that happened, I believe it turned Sam Merrill turned on a switch, man. He was, to me, the X factor of the game. We expect a 26-point performance from Donovan Mitchell, but to get 23 from Sam Merrill, great. Cleveland also won on the glass, 50-41. They had 31 assists, and they dominated the paint touches and scoring in the paint. They scored 58 points in the paint just to Detroit's 34, which is obviously you could tell that was the game plan. Kenny Atkinson said the game plan at the end, this was post Game 7, but he said that they were just like, let's get the ball away from Asar Thompson. So whoever is not on that side of the floor, let's get them the ball. Everybody can score very well on the Cavs, and that's something that they've been able to do all year. Like each one of those guys we just named, Strus, Mobley, Merrill, Mitchell, even Harden at times can pop off for 20 or 30 points. And Detroit, they shot 35% from the floor in this one. They only got 13 from Cade, right? And 5 points from Tobias Harris. When you get 18 points between your two leading scorers in the playoffs, it's going to lead to some disappointing outcomes. Again, they really didn't have a great game and they went ghost. In the second half, I turned it off because, truth be told, I knew that Detroit season was coming to an end, and it's disappointing for JB Bickerstaff to go out this way. You asked me this question before we got into this I guess whatever this overview. Detroit lost this game, yes. I'm going to get into, we have a story a little bit later about Donovan Mitchell and James Harden finally getting over the hump, which congratulations to them. But Detroit was a 60-win team. They were the number one seed in the East. They just lost. I don't know what to say other than that, Detroit fans, because you guys had everything for the taking. You were able to beat some pretty tough opponents in the Magic, and obviously, you continued on this path of playing back and forth basketball, and y'all were just short of getting to the Eastern Conference Finals when you lost to the Cavs. But the Cavs have to play like they did in Game 7, essentially every game that they play versus the Knicks, or they won't go to the finals. Detroit should be the team in the Eastern Conference Finals, but Asar Thompson, I'm not going to over talk about it because we're going to save some for Wednesday, but Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren, even Duncan Robinson at times, just there's not enough there. Yeah, and we're paying too much for those three guys. And Cade is sort of left out on the island to do his thing. And same with Tobias Harris, who, no offense to Tobias, but he's not going to be your number two option on a championship team. So again, disappointing season for Detroit. Props to the Cavaliers for figuring it out. Kenny Atkinson had a way better game plan from the start. It just seemed like it was to attack the paint, get away from Asar Thompson and shoot when possible. They didn't shoot a crazy percentage, but they did hit more threes than Detroit, which is always going to end up well for you in the box score. But yeah, the Pistons couldn't find a rhythm in Game 7, and I don't know, man. It's disappointing for me to see that and that in that way. You brought up the Timberwolves, and we'll speak about them a little bit later, but similar fashion. It's tough to watch a team who was so good, supposed to do so much, and they don't do any of it. And it kind of leaves you wondering where they can really go, because I don't see, and I said, I'll kind of get into it, but I don't see the Pacers being good next season. So, the Magic, for example, are in limbo. The Pistons are in limbo. There's a bunch of teams in the East that don't really know where they're going. Even though they're a championship team, they haven't gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals yet.
Yeah.
So I'm what are we really doing here, So I think there's more questions than answers for Detroit. And on the Cleveland side, I believe they're just happy to go to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 1992 without LeBron James. LeBron dragged them to the Eastern Conference Finals multiple times. We all know that. If you go look in the Cavs history, you'll see all the work that he did, but I'm not counting that. This is a new era for them. And Sam Merrill, man, he was a player of the game, scoring 23, didn't miss from the line. He was awesome. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about Detroit, bro. I think I'm also just shocked too. Truth be told, I'm shocked thinking about it because I still got to digest over these next few days. Damn, the Pistons are so fraud, bro.
Yeah.
They're fraud, bro.
It's like you said, it's disappointing because of how the East was set up. Them being the best team. Technically they should have had the easiest road to the finals, right? That's how the playoffs work, essentially. Doesn't always go like that, but, going 7 with the Magic, I think that's when we kind of the questions were being had about the Pistons, you know what I mean? Because of what the Magic were at. Yes, they were down 3-1. That was more so the Magic's doing. Y'all shouldn't have even been down 3-1 to this team, if we're being honest. And then it proceeds into this series where it was, you know, equal playing field up until game 6, I believe, right? Or game 6, that's when or no, my bad, game 5, that's when Cleveland won. They won in Detroit, and then Cleveland lost
Detroit
home.
won. Yeah. Detroit won in game 6.
Yeah, Detroit won game 6 in Cleveland though. So you're thinking battle tested, we could do this. Game 7, I mentioned it earlier. Yes, it's been a long season, but like you mentioned with Cade, it sucks. I mean, it's what it looked like. They just had a bad basketball day, but like you said, you can't have that in a playoff scenario where this is win or go home. So disappointing for sure. A lot of fans, I'm assuming Pistons fans, they thought this was going to be the year we make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. We can, potentially make it to the finals, but I think it says more about their roster, what they need to add, and I'm excited to kind of get into that in the offseason files because they talent-wise are good, but we see what that looks like in a playoff scenario in a 7-game series, what that looks like. So realistically, like you said, what is the improvement going to be besides just development from your players at this point? You can probably swap people around, trade people, you could try to make something work, but I think they know what they need now. They need someone else that can, Dennis Jenkins looked good. I want to shout him out. He had a good game 7 for the most part. I mean, good series, really. He started his first game, I believe, game 6 of the playoffs is his first.
This is going to be a hot take. To me, I was thinking about it. I'm like, I would rather be good on offense than defense. I'm taking Dennis Jenkins over Asar Thompson. Again, Tony Allen defense, the 2K blocks, all of that, great. But can you score in a game 7?
Right.
For us to win?
Right.
Please.
Yep.
I don't really care if you can send a shot 8 rows back, bro.
Yeah.
Dennis Jenkins is over here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's just the truth, bro.
Yeah, I get you. And that's where I was going to with what they can. This series says more about that because yes, Asar is great defensively, probably one of the best perimeter defenders that we have in this game. But is he going to be able to score whenever he needs to? When you need him to. When Cade's getting doubled, Cade's getting pressed pretty much the whole walking up the court, someone's right in his chest the whole game. Who else is going to be able to do anything on this Pistons team? So I think that's what this playoffs for me showed for them. Obviously, they were able to do it against the Magic because if we're being honest, the Magic just weren't the greatest team this year. You know what I mean? And
they're not a championship
team. But we've seen them when they're going against a team that has aspirations of making it to the finals, getting that Eastern Conference Finals for sure. And we've seen what it looked like. So it's interesting, like you said, not really much. I mean, I know I just was yapping about it for a couple of minutes, but besides that, not really much to say. I think we've kind of saw what this team could be with Cade, and now it's kind of what can we build around him. But shout out to Cleveland. They took care of business. This could have easily been one of those games where, they get up 20 points, Detroit goes on a run. They start hitting their shots. They're playing good defense. The crowd's getting involved. I was waiting for that type of run to happen, if I'm being honest, because I feel like I've seen Detroit be able to do that, early on in the playoffs. So shout out to Cleveland handling business. Jared Allen was incredible for the first, I think at the end of the first half, and then just Donovan Mitchell, what he's been able to do, and Sam Merrill, like you mentioned, hitting I remember one play specifically, he was coming off of not a pin down, but just curling up, kind of high up to the 3-point line, and he ended up getting a 4-point play, bro. So just what his shot making was incredible, game 7, and like you said, when you have someone coming off your bench scoring 23 points, hitting 5, 6 threes, whatever it was, it's hard to beat a team like Cleveland. They're just very dangerous. So excited for this Eastern Conference Finals. I believe both of the teams that we said at the beginning of the year are in the finals, so that's dope to see. I had the Knicks coming out the East, and Z had Cleveland. So I guess we'll see who ends up being right about that. But
yeah, and New York is so dangerous. Probably the second best team in the playoffs behind the Thunder. We haven't talked about them much because they've been so good. Mm-hmm. They've been chilling for days and days and days. And to your point, Atlanta gave them a little bit of a run for their money. Then in game 6, it was a no-show.
Yep.
They beat them by 40 points, and They no-showed Philly, right, in game 4. Makes it tough to talk about it when there's just not a lot of good basketball being played. So on the other side of that is the Knicks are prepared, but Detroit, you guys have some things to address in the offseason, and we'll talk about that whenever we get to that point. But you can go to the end because we could talk about the Cavs, and then we'll get into the Spurs, and we'll get on out of here.
Bet. So you want to recap the game 6 of the Western Conference semis, you know what I mean? So, I mentioned it earlier, disappointing closeout games for both the Pistons that we just talked about and then the Timberwolves that we'll talk about right now. But, the Spurs sent Minnesota home with a 139-109 victory against the Timberwolves Z, closing the series 4-2 and punching their ticket to the Western Conference Finals that starts tonight. San Antonio broke the game open early, winning the first quarter 36-27, and then starting the second quarter on a 20-0 run to build a 56-27 lead.
When that was going on, I was about to say,
bro. Once I saw that, I was like,
yeah,
it's just one of those games. It's just outmatched. What more can you say? Go on a 20-0 run to start the second quarter.
It's disappointing, bro. And they fought back after that. They went on like a 9-0 run after that. They cut it to like 11.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, when that happened, and I was like, oh no, because the Timberwolves have a rep of like going down 30, and usually they might come back. Like they either come back down 30 or it's over. It's like they're like rolling that, or they come back. It's like no in between though. Like they don't really get it to like 10 and that's it. Like they keep it at 30 or they're coming back.
Mm-hmm. But man. Shout out to Stephon Castle, who was the tone setter with 32 points and 11 rebounds. De'Aaron Fox added 21 and 9 assists, and Victor Wembanyama still impacted the game with 19 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 blocks, despite Minnesota guarding him well. The Spurs did what great closing teams do. They shot 55.7% from the field and hit 18 of 38 threes, had 34 assists, and destroyed the glass 60-29. Minnesota did force San Antonio into 16 turnovers and got 24 points from Anthony Edwards, 21 from Terrence Shannon Jr., and 18 from Naz Reid, but the Wolves shot just 37.7% and got almost nothing from Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert, who combined for only 3 points. Man.
Oh, God.
Yeah, you can't.
Randle was getting fried on X, bro. He was getting fried.
Man. And I was someone that was frying Julius Randle, and then these past 2 seasons he's been playing well in the playoffs. And then this season, the series against the Spurs, man, he going back to his old ways, I guess. I still believe in you, Julius Randle, but tough to see, you know what I mean, especially as a dynasty owner of him. But during the series,
I was gonna say Steph Castle, his dynasty stock,
incredible,
must be rising. Must be. It must be rising.
I'm excited. For this upcoming season.
Hey, I got a question for you. Should I trade Fox? You think his dynasty stock is like cooked or is it not cooked? Because he still looks like he's hooping.
He still looks good.
But like, it's not like Stephon Castle's the one.
Yeah. I'll say shit. They might even start prioritizing Dylan Harper after this playoff run too. So I say sell on him because I'm pretty sure someone that needs a guard will probably, give you a good piece for your team.
And he's good.
He's good.
But the thing is, other people are like they're like
know
us.
That.
Yeah, they're smart.
Yeah,
I was gonna say it's not like I can just finagle.
Yeah, you're not gonna finagle a first round draft.
Like my brother's like he's 30.
Yeah,
like exactly.
He's,
like they're gonna be
like the third guard on that.
He's the third guard on the Spurs. Like that's why you're trying to trade me. So I just had to ask.
Yeah, it's one of those like if you could for sure, but I think you just gotta find someone that needs a guard. Like they just
Stephon Castle is untradeable.
In my 100%.
Like I was thinking about I could trade. Yeah, like I might be able to trade. Like for me, somebody who's untradeable, right, is Cooper Flag. But that he's showing me, bro, if he can shoot 40% from 3, that's why I brought it up. He's shooting 40% from deep in the playoffs. If he can do that, yeah, he's untradeable.
Yeah,
like I can't even take Cooper Flag. Like I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care. Because I think he'll still get, 30-point triple doubles or whatever. It's not like
Yeah.
you're getting less value or more value in return. So he's been awesome. And like, yeah, the dynasty stock for him has to be through the roof right now.
Yeah, I saw two of my players go the complete opposite directions this series. So
yeah,
Stephon Castle through the roof, like you mentioned. Julius Randle plummeted it into the ground. So
plummeting.
But that being said, man, during this series, the Wolves deserve credit for stealing Game 1 in San Antonio and tying the series again in Game 4.
No, for sure.
But once the Spurs settled in, their size, guard pressure, transition game, and shooting gave Minnesota fewer answers each night. For the Spurs, the biggest takeaway is that Wemby does not have to score 35 every night when Castle, Fox, Harper, Vassell, and Champagnie can punish defense around him. Now, they move on to face the defending champion Thunder, where the challenge becomes handling OKC's pressure, limiting Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and proving this young Spurs group can execute against the best defense and most complete team they have seen all postseason.
Mm-hmm. And to your point, the Spurs have been waiting for this opportunity all year. Ant went over with like 8 minutes left in this one, and but I think he was talking, like, he was just telling them, like, try to beat the Thunder. Bron said it too. Like, he told the Thunder, actually. But everybody's coming for them. That's the point, right? They're the defending champions. Nobody really likes the Thunder anymore.
Yeah.
So if you're in the West, it's like, do everything in your power to beat them. For the Spurs, that's getting past the TWolves. They were able to do that. Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, man, you brought him up a little earlier, but for people who don't know, he can. We said it on the pod, but like they can go. They don't need I don't need 2 years to get ready. That's Dylan Harper, but Wemby, like you said, does not need to get 30, which is just makes him a little bit more dangerous. Similar to Shai, doesn't always need 40 points. Whereas Anthony Edwards needed 40. That's why me and you were rooting for him. He just had to do more, and he was hurt, and that didn't end up happening. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Io and Bones and a couple other unrestricted guys. I believe they'll be back, though. They seem like they really like Minnesota and Chris Finch. And Jaden McDaniels, man, just proven time and time again that he's a playoff asset. So really good series. If I had to rate it, it was like a 7 out of 10, but I wish it went 7. I wish Ant and DiVincenzo were healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And even Wemby, I wish he was in every game. I know he got ejected. He was kind of hurt earlier in the Blazers. Blazers. That was with the Blazers, but like hasn't had a super clean playoff run. But just seeing them now pretty soon here within the next 20 minutes, we'll watch the game. So we'll see. That's on the Hoop Collective, the podcast I was listening to this morning. Bontemps said it, but he's like, the playoffs expose you, so you just have nowhere to run after that. So the TWolves got nowhere to run. More coming on that on Wednesday, but we're going to talk about their balance sheet and how unhealthy or healthy it looks, and the Naz Reid and the Randall and the Anthony Edwards and Gobert. That's about $200 million a year. So that core, you got to have a lot of belief in. But we're going to circle back to the Cavaliers for a second, because what's going on with them, and James Harden obviously making a conference finals since 2018, and Donovan Mitchell going to his first one. I just want to say, man, I love Donovan Mitchell. I am proud that he's gotten this far. It's crazy to say only 2 rounds in the playoffs. It's like a whole celebration. I don't want the Cavs to become comfortable. They're going to have to compete a lot harder than they did in this last series versus the Knicks. But again, Spider having 26 in Game 7, scoring 39 in a half. I'm happy for him, man. I'm Cleveland hasn't been since 2018. Obviously, when Braun was on the team, they haven't been to the Eastern Conference Finals since the 90s, whenever Braun wasn't on the team. So this is a massive win for their front office in general. The trade with James Harden at the midseason point seemed to work out for both teams, like we said, when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really about the Cavs, their peripheral players, like Sam Merrill, the Jared Allens, the Tysons, the Max Struses of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys have stepped up big time, and Cleveland can finally breathe a breath of fresh air because they're in the second apron. Their balance sheet isn't the healthiest, and we've talked about that a lot. But if they can get to the Eastern Conference Finals and potentially get over the hump over the next 2 to 3 years, you never have to apologize for saying sorry for winning an NBA championship. And you said it at the end of the last segment for the Pistons and the Cavs, but you want to give credit to Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of teams probably didn't expect them to be in this situation. Detroit shot themselves out of the game in Game 7, and Cleveland was able to capitalize. I want to give credit to their coaching staff. Kenny Atkinson, Coach of the Year in 2024, 2025. He's no stranger to drawing up the proper schematics to figure out a game plan to attack opponents. It's really the writing's on the wall for Cleveland. If you're a Cavs fan, congrats, one. But I know you guys are looking at this series with New York under a microscope.
Mm-hmm.
New York's second in net rating, right behind the Thunder. It's like New York's dangerous. So you guys are going to have to play your best basketball of the entire year coming up here in a second. And like I said, all of the peripheral players are going to have to help Donovan Mitchell, who, again, top 6 now. He's fallen a little bit because he's had a pretty slow playoffs compared to his previous ones. Donovan Mitchell was scoring 30 a night for the Jazz, right? So his playoff average has dipped a little, but it's at like 26.9. So top 6 career playoff score that the Cleveland Cavaliers got on their team. James Harden didn't have the best Game 7, but he's going to show up in this series at least once or twice, which you can kind of bucket. You just hope that he doesn't have a stinker in an elimination game.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Mobley, we'll talk about him more on Wednesday in the offseason files and that debate. I don't know if he's worth 250, but if he can give me 20 and 8, so be it. I want to bring up the Jared Allen. The lights were too bright. Donovan Mitchell brought it up, and he said, I guess they're not. And I guess they're not. Not for Jared Allen. The last 2 Game 7s, he's averaging 20 and 15. So clearly he's starting to show up, a Central Texas guy as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of respect for Cleveland and their front office. LeVert, it was interesting to see Karis LeVert go up against Cleveland last time, but I think moves like that, moving off of certain guys to get new guys in, has given Cleveland the chance to compete for a championship. And clearly they're a top 4 team in the NBA. Next season projections will be high. They just have to focus on every single game like it's their last, even if it's not an elimination game. If they can win Game 1, bro, I believe it's going to send shockwaves to the NBA. Even though it's not panic time for the Knicks, it would be scary hours for sure. And Donovan Mitchell, Harden, their entire core, like those guys are going to be ready to play. So wanted to give some more credit to Cleveland. Detroit shot themselves out of Game 7, but winning in a 7-game series versus Toronto, winning in a 7-game series versus Detroit shows your resilience and your ability to compete at a high level. It doesn't make any sense to doubt them now. Mm-hmm. So shout out to Cleveland. They had like 3 or 4 dudes, and Sam Merrill, Mitchell, Mobley, Allen all scored above 20. And Max Strus had a couple games above 20 as well in this series. So just in Game 7 alone. Mm-hmm. So they have 3 or 4 different guys who can score that many points, I'm sure. The Knicks are going to have to – Mike Brown's going to have to draw up something schematically to stop that on the defensive end. So I think Cat's going to give some of their bigs some fits, but I'm excited to see where Cleveland goes, man. I hope they can win a championship without LeBron. Truth be told, if Cleveland won this year, which they probably won't, I would be happy.
Yeah.
Like I would be happy for them.
Yeah,
so I'm like, dang, yeah, no LeBron and Mitchell and Harden, right? Like Harden's legacy. If he won, bro.
Yeah.
What do you want to say? You can say you're a Thunder fan.
I was just about to ask you, where would you put Harden's legacy if he won this year?
Back above Shai's. There's no way, bro, because he had like 6, 7. That's
the only thing
bro,
that even put him above him is the chip. If we're being honest,
the chip. Yeah. Man. If he got one of them, even just one, he's good. Jokic is another person. Sorry, we're going all around the place, but he has one, and I don't really see him getting more.
Right.
He's only getting older, and the West only gets harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but he has won, right? We'll always remember that 2023. They beat the Celtics in 5. Jokic had such a good series too. Like he did everything in that series, but that was like his one. That was like the apex, and then he disappeared this year. We talked about it on the pod. It was like,
Got bounced in the first
the
round.
Nugget, the Nuggets they went ghost, right? So
lost to us in the second round last year.
It's a big deal for Harden and Mitchell to be here individually for their legacy, and then on top of that, the Cavs in general, since they hadn't been since 2018, and then pre-LeBron since '93. So. Yeah, there we go, Cleveland.
Yeah, that was.
You guys are in the mix, and there you go. Yeah, they're in the mix, and Cleveland.
This is for you.
This is for you.
You know what I mean? Come on, man.
Yeah, man. So hopefully Donnie Mitchell, they can figure it out. We saw him play well though, and he'll probably make one of my all playoff teams, but probably start those there soon too. It's the final starts, so those will come out, but. Yeah, CJ, I don't know if you want to add anything to that. Cleveland's in the mix, man. Y'all know it. So we got the microscope on New York and Cleveland now.
Yeah, it's gonna be
get into this game, this Thunder game.
I was about to say that's obviously love when my team is in this situation we are now, but being able to watch the Eastern Conference Finals and not be obviously invested because that can potentially be the team that we're going against, but when your team is in a conference finals, that's all you're thinking about. So I'm obviously watching the game, stressing out and shit, and then I'll be watching the Eastern Conference Finals like not as stressed out because it's not my team that is in that
your squad.
Yeah. So and just enjoying.
And I'm just watching.
Yeah,
I'm just watching regardless, bro. And that's what sucks about not having a championship team is now I'm unbiased in all corners. I want to see the Thunder win for my dog, but we'll see what the Spurs can do. We'll see if they can give them a run for their money. About to see right now.
Yeah, bro. But that'll do it for your boys over at 3-Man Weave, and we'll see y'all next time, man. Peace. 3-Man.